we're here today to talk about what I think is the most important subject. It is one of my favorites. And that is, how do you get your team? How do you attract the best and the brightest to your door? And how do you get your team to be as passionate as you are about the growth of your credit union? Now, I am lucky enough. In the work that I do, I get to travel around the world. I get to travel around the country. I work with leaders and professionals just like you. And I've got to tell you that I learn a lot. I learn the latest sales techniques, the most innovative leadership strategies, and what the best of the best are doing to navigate change. Change. Have you had enough of that lately? They say we have changed more in the last 5 years than we have changed in the previous 100. And you better put your seatbelt on, because that is nothing compared to the change we are about to go through. So change is an obstacle. It is definitely a challenge, but it is not your biggest. The biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle, the biggest thing that I see standing in the way of success today is that most of you are using strategies and techniques that were designed for a very different marketplace. They were designed for a very different type of customer. And most importantly, they were designed for a very different type of employee. And that's what we're going to focus on today. What are the strategies, what are the techniques that you need to succeed no matter what this economy does, and the strategies that you need to succeed to get the best and the brightest to really beat a path to your door. Sound good? All right. About a year ago, I made a decision. I just decided that now is the time. If I was ever going to do it, there would never be a better opportunity. I bought my office building. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, how could a woman as young as me possibly afford to buy her office building, right? Well, this is a chance I had been waiting for all my life. I had been saving my money. I came from a family where saving money was our thing. My dad was always walking around the house saying things like, it is better to own than penny saved is a... Absolutely. So while other little girls were playing Barbie, I was playing bank. I had the money there, but I don't have to tell you that with interest rates so low about a year ago, it seemed crazy to borrow. It seemed crazy to spend my own money. It made a lot more sense to borrow. So I called a couple of financial institutions and set up a couple of meetings. Walk in my office first thing Monday morning, and there is loan officer number 1, Chip. Now, Chip looks exactly like I think a loan officer ought to look. He's got perfect hair, Brooks Brothers suit, wingtip shoes. I invite Chip into my office, and as I notice as he's walking in there, Chip looks just a little bit cocky. And as he takes a seat, I realize why. Because the deal he has put in front of me is sweet. Low interest rate, he has waived the closing cost, and he is going to do this thing called an evaluation versus an appraisal. I don't really know what that is, but it is going to save me a lot of money. I like Chip. By the time Chip leaves my office, I'm thinking, Chip is going to be my loan officer. I am so sure of this that I am ready to cancel my other meetings. When out of the corner of my eye, I see loan officer number 2. Now, the only thing more important in my family than saving money was being polite. So I can hear my mother on my shoulder saying, that loan officer has come all this way to meet with you. You are going to meet with her. So I invite loan officer number 2, Yvette, into my office. Now, Yvette, I got to tell you, she's intimidating. Flawless skin, St. John's shoot, Jimmy Choos. And when she takes a seat in my office, she sort of floats into the chair. And before I can open my mouth, Yvette starts asking me questions all about myself. And I find that the more Yvette talks about me, the more I like Yvette. And then, just as smoothly as she has transitioned into that chair, she lets me know that she is not going to be the least expensive loan officer I ever work with. But if I will give her 15 minutes, she'll convince me why doing business with her is going to be the best decision I've ever made. Now, you know where this story goes. Yvette is my loan officer. She not only did the deal on my building, but to this day, I have all my financial services with her. And what I want you to take from this story is what you need to understand is it is not the products or services that are going to make you successful going forward. It is your ability to surround yourself with a team of vets. Your ability to not only attract people who will care about your credit union, but will passionately understand what it takes to compete and what it takes to help you grow in today's market. And again, that's what I want to focus on. What are the strategies? What do you need to know and understand that will get the best and the brightest to beat a path to your door, but also stay, be engaged, and help you take that credit union next level? What do you need to do to succeed no matter what this economy does? Well, let's start there. Let's start talking about this economy. Is anybody in here besides me tired of trying to figure out what this economy is going to do? Yeah, I mean, really, is it good? Is it bad? Is it up? Is it down? I think on any given day, depending upon what time of day it is, what channel you're watching, and which way the wind happens to be blowing, you can hear the economy's up, only 5 minutes later to hear that it's down. But the truth is, our economy isn't up, it isn't down. The thing you really need to understand about our economy is everything about it is different. We have literally gone through an economic shift, moving out of what is known as a push economy and into what is known as a pull economy. Now, Chris is going to give you an Econ 101 lesson, so I am not going to do that. Because in my opinion, all you need to know, all you need to really understand is that in this economy, the biggest shift is that you are no longer in control. You are no longer calling the shots. Members are. Consumers are. I want you to think about the world we live in. Globalization, constant advancements in technology, increasing competition. We could all get up right now, we could go home, we could get in our jammies, we could get in our underwear, we could sit around naked for the next week if we wanted to. Not that we should. Google until our heart is content and have everything we need, everything we want, every little thing our heart desires, it could be delivered right to our door. I'm guessing you do that right now. How many of you are the king or queen of Amazon Prime? Yeah? Absolutely. Do you ever do this? I was leaving to come on this trip and I told you I hurt my back and I'm thinking to myself, I need ibuprofen. And I'm literally in my car, driving by the drugstore, thinking, I need ibuprofen. I should probably go in there. But then I'd have to park, right? And then I'd have to get out of the car. Forget it, I'll go home and order it online, right? Now, I'm having fun with you, but what I want you to understand is that right there changes everything. That right there makes this an economy like none of us have ever lived in, worked in, let alone tried to grow a credit union in before. That makes this an economy where no matter how spectacular or unique or amazing you believe your products or services are, to the average member, to the average potential member, they become a commodity, something they believe they can buy anywhere, anytime. They can even buy them without you. Right? So it isn't what you're selling in this economy, but it is how you are selling it. It isn't what you're selling, it's how you're selling it. This economy comes down to one thing: your ability to effectively build relationships. And not the relationships that we're used to. This is relationships on steroids. You need to be so proactive with members, providing service at a level that they don't believe they can get that anywhere else. And you need to proactively add value at a level that they don't believe they can live without you. This economy comes down to your ability to build relationships. But for those of you in this room, the relationship that you build with your employees is more important than the one you build with your members. I'm going to repeat that. If you are in leadership, The relationship that you build with your employees is more important than the one you build with your members. Why? Because it isn't the product or service that is growing your credit union. It is your reputation in the marketplace, and it's the experience your members are having. I want you to think about this. While you've been sitting in this room, since you arrived at this hotel, your best members, your biggest prospects, right now are interacting with somebody from your credit union. And if that experience isn't amazing, they're going to move on. See, controlling your reputation in the marketplace, that would be so easy if you were the only person who ever touched a member. If you took care of every single one of your members, you would know the experience would be amazing. But you're not. In fact, more often than not, your members, your prospects, they are interacting with those people who work with you and for you. So we are 100% dependent. Our ability to grow and expand is dependent upon how much our employees care, how passionate they are. And just because the universe likes to have fun with us, we are suffering from one of the most disengaged workforces in history. We need our employees more than we have ever needed them, and they are more checked out than they have ever been. Gallup estimates that something like 70% of today's workforce, that's 2/3 of the people that work for you, are willing to fill out a survey that says, I'm uninterested, I don't care, I'm only here to get a paycheck. 2/3. Now that right there to me says, as a leader, there's got to be something different that I could do. Because where there's challenge, there's major competitive opportunity. There's something that you could do to get forward. But if that 70% is not enough for you, Gallup estimates that if we don't change how we lead, if we don't change how we attract this next generation of employee, in the next couple of years, that 70% is going to go to 84%. 84% of your workforce willing to fill out a survey that says, I'm uninterested, I don't care, I am only here because they pay me. How many of you think that you will struggle to hit your goals if 84% of your workforce has checked out? How many of you would like to compete against others who have 84% of their workforce checked out? Yeah? Well, there is a good possibility that if you adopt the strategies that we're going to talk about today, you will gain that competitive advantage. Because most organizations are continuing to lead the way they have always led. And if everything about this economy is different, doesn't it make sense that we would need a new set of strategies, a new way to go about attracting employees? You know, Jack Welch, the legendary leader of GE, remember back when GE used to be successful? He used to say that there were 3 things a leader needed to focus on. Just 3 things if you wanted to be successful. Number 1, you needed to focus on cash flow. It's pretty important, right? You need cash flowing through the business to do things. You need to focus on the customer experience, for you, the member experience. Pretty important, we need them to be happy. And he'd say you need to focus on the engagement level of your employees, all of which are valid. But I want you to think about your role as leader. If you focus your time and energy on cash flow, you will not necessarily have a positive impact on the member experience or on employee engagement. If you focus your time and energy on the member experience, you can put the credit union out of business. But if you focus your time and energy, if you make your number 1 job engaging employees, you will impact cash flow and you will positively impact the member experience. If you do not take anything else from me today, take this understanding that the most important job that you have going forward, the only competitive advantage that you have left, is attracting the best and the brightest to your door, the job of the leader, the people in charge, because that is your greatest competitive advantage. I got turned on to this way of thinking when I started writing the book, Winning in the Trust and Value Economy, the ultimate guide to business and sales success. And what I noticed was there were organizations that seemed to, no matter what this economy threw at them, they always came out on top. Technology, not an issue. New competitor, not an issue. Shift in the economy, not an issue. And I wanted to know why. What were they doing that was so unique? And what were they doing that was so different? And what I found was they were implementing these 3 strategies that I want to talk about today. These 3 strategies that redefine how we lead, that create a team that is about ownership, engagement, and results. So you ready? All right. Anybody in here ever seen the television show Mad Men? Remember that show? Yeah. The show about the rise of the advertising age in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And I loved this television show because nothing depicts a rockin' push economy better than Mad Men. This is the time when most of us were growing up. Do you remember how crazy television commercials were when we were growing up? I mean, you could tell a woman that if she bought a certain bra, she believed she would look just like Jane Mansfield or Kim Kardashian, if that's too young for you. And men were not any better. Men bought into this idea, do you remember this? Just a little dab of do ya? Little Brill cream, women would find you irresistible. Yeah. And my personal favorite was this apparatus that was shaped like this. And I believed if I took this thing and I stuck it right here for 10 minutes every day, I'd have thighs that looked like whom? Suzanne Summers, yeah. Those were the good old days. Those were the days when business was in charge, when your competitor was just the guy down the street. It wasn't the possibility of somebody in Singapore. And it was back in the day when ordering online meant the Sears catalog, and you had to wait a month to get anything. You have to wake up because our economy does not work like that anymore. And it doesn't work like that anymore for far more reasons than truth in advertising and rules and regulations. It doesn't work like that because more than this economy has changed. Your members have changed. How they make decisions, how they find out about things. They're far less interested in the advertising that you do. They're far less interested in what you say about your credit union. Instead, they're turning to their friends, their family. They're listening to what other people are saying. They're even paying more attention to Google reviews than they're paying to what you say. In this economy, your reputation in the marketplace is everything. If I am in one of your communities and walking down the street, you have to be the credit union that everybody is talking about. You have to attract members before you ask for the business. You have to get above the white noise and stand out from everybody else. And if you want to attract members, if you want to grow your credit union, it starts by attracting really great employees. That's the most important thing to do. But I think to attract great employees, you have to understand today's employees and why they're different. Everybody seems to think it is a generational issue. What is wrong with this younger generation, right? Anybody grow up with a dad who sat down at the dinner table every night and said the exact same thing? Yeah, I mean, I think like my peers grew up in the 60s, like we are ones to talk about this generation, right? I do not think it is a generational issue. I have a 23-year-old nephew who's working 2 jobs and putting himself through grad school. And I got a 54-year-old brother-in-law, I can't remember the last time he had a job, right? There are amazing people in every generation. Your job is to build the culture that attracts the best and the brightest to your door. And to do that, you have to know what's going on in the mind of today's employees. Why they're different, why they're not engaging. You know, when most of us were growing up, we believed that when we graduated from high school, from college, if we went to work and we worked hard, we believed that job would be there, right? And we believed if we just worked a little harder, we could probably get promoted. And if we just didn't cause any trouble, We could probably retire there and even get a pension. No employee believes that anymore. I don't care what age they are. Whether they're conscious of it or not, when people come to work for you, in the back of their mind, they're thinking downsizing, outsourcing, merger, acquisition. We as leaders have taken guarantee off the table. And we have to put something else back in its place. The only difference between the younger generation and my generation is my generation quit. They just never left employment. Retention is not engagement. You have to give people something to want to get engaged in, something to get excited about. And there's 3 strategies when I've researched the companies that really attract the best and the brightest, but also not only attract them, get them to engage while they're there. And the first thing that employees really want today, the first thing they care about is they want to believe in something. They want to feel that they are part of an organization that is making a difference. They don't want a job. They want purpose. They want to feel like they are working for something bigger than themselves. Anybody in here college basketball fans? I'm from North Carolina, go Tar Heels. A couple of years ago, there was a matchup in the Final Four. It's women's basketball. And it was a matchup between the University of Connecticut, UConn, and got a UConn back there? Yeah. And Mississippi State. Now, nobody wanted to watch this matchup between UConn and Mississippi State, and for far more reasons than just because it was women's basketball. Okay? Nobody wanted to watch this because the last time UConn and Mississippi State had been matched up, UConn had beaten Mississippi State by 60 points. It's one of the biggest defeats ever in college basketball. Add to that UConn was entering the Final Four having won over 100 some odd games straight. It was almost unheard of in college basketball. So who wants to watch a matchup where one group is just going to get creamed by the other? So I don't know what y'all do in the Northeast when college basketball comes on, but in North Carolina, no matter where you are during the Final Four, the Sweet 16, we have the television on. If you are at the grocery store, there is a television on. If you are at church, there is a television on. And this night, I happened to be at a dinner party. I will never forget where I was. And we are all sitting there having dinner, having conversation, and the television is on in the back. We are waiting for North Carolina and South Carolina to play, but this matchup between Mississippi State and UConn is going on. And slowly, we can hear the cheers. So we're turning around and we're watching this game until we are sitting in front of the television on the edge of our seat because it is neck and neck. And right at the end, Mississippi State pulled out the win. Nobody could believe it. Nobody, that is, except Mississippi State. And after all the hubbub and the awards and everything was over, a reporter found a Mississippi State player coming across the court. And she stopped her and said, "Are you excited?" Player said, "I'm out of my mind." And she said, "Well, how shocked are you? You won." And the Mississippi State player said, "I'm not shocked at all. I knew we were going to win this game. I knew we were going to win this game when I stepped on the court. I knew that we were going to win this game when I was downstairs in the dressing room. I knew we were going to win this game when I got up this morning." And the reporter's like, "How?" She said, "Because last year when we got crushed by UConn, we vowed as a team that we would never lose to UConn ever again. We were so committed to it that our coach started every practice talking about beating UConn. If you come downstairs in our locker room, you'll see the number 60 plastered all over the walls." She said, "We did not step onto that basketball court to play basketball. We stepped onto that court to win a championship, to get our reputation back." That is purpose. That is calling people to something bigger than themselves. You can try to manage job descriptions, you can try to get people to be motivated, but if you call them to purpose, you've got to think about what you're trying to do with your credit union. Maybe you want to be the best in your community. Maybe you want to revolutionize the way that people think about credit unions. But you need to be focused on your purpose. You need something that people can get behind, something that they can believe in, and something where they feel like they are making a difference. Because you not only have to define the purpose, you have to be like that coach, and you have to be talking about the purpose all the time. It's got to be front and center, because people need to feel connected to the purpose. They need to feel like they are making a difference. You know, years ago, I had signed up for a cycling event, and I live in the mountains of western North Carolina. And I didn't realize until I'd signed up for the event that I knew we were going to ride 60 miles, but I didn't know it was 60 miles and 8,000 feet of elevation gain. But I'd already showed up, and I'd already paid, and I'm cheap. If I'd already paid, I was going to ride in this event, right? So the first 20 miles I am riding, and every so many miles there are signs telling me that I'm getting closer to my goal. Just a few more pedals and there's going to be a station where I can get food and I can get water. And I'm 20 miles into this thing and I'm thinking, boy, I must be in better shape than I thought. I am doing really well. Mile marker 30, I hit a mountain like that. Take a deep breath and I start pedaling up that mountain. But once again, there are signs. You're almost there. You just about got it. You're almost over the top. And I hit the top of that thing and I come down the other side. And for the first time, I am at 40 miles, and it is the first time that there is no sign. I don't know whether to go right. I don't know whether to go left. So I make an educated guess and I go left. But because I do what I do for a living, I noticed the moment that I didn't know where I was going, that I was only pedaling with half the energy. Because see, I didn't know if I was going closer to a goal or I was going further away. And that really made me think, do we do that to our employees? I don't care if you have amazing people working for you. If they don't understand how their job connects to the goal, if every time they make a loan, if every time they bring in a new member, if they don't see it as something bigger, you're only getting half the energy out of them. Because they don't understand why doing what they're doing makes a difference. So you have got to focus on purpose, and you have got to help them understand why when they engage with a member, they bring in new business, they expand a relationship. It's bigger than just the tick mark on their job description. When they interact with a member, how they treat them, how that helps with the overall goal. I had probably pedaled maybe a mile down the road, and up shows the guy in the sag wagon. He hands me a banana and tells me I'm headed the right direction. And the moment he did that, I immediately felt the energy come back into my body. I think as a leader, your most important job is to be out there talking about purpose. What is the credit union trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And how does everybody fit into that picture? Because when you give people something to believe in, now all of a sudden every other job out there looks different. It doesn't look the same. It isn't the same as working for you. You know, when I started studying employee engagement, I thought this was fascinating. The most disengaged workers, year after year after year, the most disengaged are government workers. They get every paid holiday. They get retirements. They get pensions. But they are the most disengaged. The most engaged, the ones who love what they do and give it everything, people who work for nonprofits. Because they believe in the mission. They believe in the cause. And it doesn't have to be altruistic. It doesn't have to be anything other than you telling them what you're trying to accomplish and what the vision is and how they fit into that picture. Because when people believe in you, then they want to connect. They want to help you achieve your goals. When they understand where you're going, they're ready to be a part of it. And that is strategy number 2. That is connection. Once you have clearly defined the purpose, your employees are ready to connect and help you achieve that goal. But you have to give them the opportunity. You've got to make sure that you have created a culture that allows them to connect. Now, connection to me is a funny word because we treat it like a step. If somehow I know your name, I remember your birth date, who your kids are, that somehow I believe you are connected to the credit union. But it is more than that. Connection is an actual emotional exchange. And it's critical because with members, if they feel connected, you're their credit union. They're doing everything with you. It goes from a one-time transaction to a lifetime relationship. But with an employee, it is the point at which they decide it's my responsibility to grow this credit union. This isn't just a job I'm showing up for. I'm going over the edge, and I'm going to give them my ideas, my strategies, and I'm going to do everything I can to take this credit union next level. And the way that you get employees to connect with you is you've got to invest in them. We're always asking our employees to invest in the credit union. Give us everything you've got. But I think as leaders, we've got to back ourselves up and say, have we invested in our employees? And that begins by, as leaders, we have to become better communicators. We have to become better at really communicating and connecting with our employees. Now let's try that on for size. I think maybe we should practice that in here. Let's assume that this room is a great big model of human behavior. And inside this room are all the different ways that people communicate, all the different ways that they connect. So if you think of yourself as outgoing, as fast-paced, as quick to make a decision, I need you to come to the front of the room. If you had to think twice about that, you would be reserved. I need you to go to the back of the room. Let's go. Outgoing, fast-paced, front of the room, reserved to the back. You can stand in the middle. Hi, you a middle or head one side or the other?
I'm reserved. I'll bet.
Reserved? You can stay in the middle if you want to. Now I'm about to have a little fun with you, but I promise you I use this every day of my life, whether I'm interacting with a prospect or a customer, but most importantly, when I am interacting with employees. See, not everybody communicates the same. And we start communicating with people long before we ever open our mouths. Long before we ever utter a word, people are deciding whether they like us, whether they trust us, whether they want to follow us. Now, my friends up here, they are outgoing. They are fast-paced. They are people who are always on the go. They are the type of people that if I say, do you wanna? They go, yeah, and they don't even know where we're going or what we're doing, correct? Right? So, somebody over here asked me a question. Any question? Question?
Do you live near Asheville?
I live near Asheville. How's that silence making you feel? A little uncomfortable, right? What do you do when somebody doesn't answer a question right away? Ask another one, right? You just keep talking, don't you? Because you can have the entire conversation by yourself if the other person is not moving quickly enough. Correct? I do live near Asheville, North Carolina, actually. So with this type of people, I have to pick my energy up because slow-moving people drive you nuts, drive you crazy, right? We have things to do, places to go, people to see. Move, people, move. Now, I want all of you to pay attention. Pay very close attention. Because I want you to meet our friends back here, the reserved folks. Listen to this. They actually think before they speak. Yeah? So when I come back here and I have all this energy and I'm like, how are things going? Da, 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 da. How's that make you feel? Look at her eyes. Look, I'm not even saying anything. Because why? What does it make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. She is thinking, lady, back up. Bring it down. It is too much, correct? So when I interact with this group, I need to bring my energy down. I need to, if I ask them a question, I actually need to give them the space to answer the question. Now here's the beautiful thing. I got my friends hanging right here in the middle. They aren't sure where to go or what to do. But the great thing about them is true. We can do whatever we need to do with our energy. I can bring my energy up to play with my friends up here, but I can easily bring my energy down to interact with my group back here. I can move quickly, I can move fast, or I can move a little bit more reserved and allow the process to flow through. So energy is easily navigated. And you need to do that if you want to better connect with those around you. Now there's one more thing you need to look at besides pace, one more, and that is priority. What's most important to people. So if you think of yourself as a people person, if I were going to give you 15 minutes, you would run out in that hallway, you'd grab a cup of coffee, you'd make a phone call, you'd start talking to people. I need you to go to this side of the room. But if I gave you 15 minutes and you would be out that door to do something on your to-do list because you think that's about the sexiest thing you could ever do, if you are a to-do list person, I need you over here. 15 minutes, you'd interact with an individual or you'd do something off your to-do list. I want you over here. People, to-do list.
If I'm in both, can I stand
Yes,
with you?
you can stand right in the
good,
middle.
no, okay.
Your people, right? Yes, thank you. I always forget.
Painful game to become a UConn
Huh?
former football player. I saw that game.
It's painful,
I was
wasn't it?
crying.
All right, so I think 90% of communication issues with members, with employees, happen because of the confusion right here. These people over here, they are all about the relationship. They are all about getting to know who we are as people before we get down to business. So when I interact with this side of the room, I need to bother to get to know who they are, what their hobbies are, and what's important to them. And when you come into the office on Monday morning and you get a cup of coffee, what is the first 15 minutes for? Greeting people, talking to people, saying hello to them, right? Exactly. Well, your friends over here, they don't really care what you did over the weekend. Do you? Right? No, because what is work for as soon as you come in? What's work for? When you get to the office on Monday, what do you do?
Figure out what you have to do.
Exactly, you get to work because that is what it is. It is work, work, work. We are not there to make friends. So when I interact with this group of people, I need to get down to business. I need to stay on to the point. Maybe after I get to the point, they'll allow the relationship to build after that. But we need to get the task done. Honestly, this group of people comes into the office on Monday morning, they get a cup of coffee, they go right to their desk and they go to work. Everybody over here thinks you hate them, thinks you don't like them at all, thinks how could you not possibly be interested in who I am and what I'm doing. And all of you over here, you come into the office, you get a cup of coffee, you go into this group, you sit down, you start having a conversation, and all they're thinking is, would you shut up? We need to get to work, right? Now I got to tell you again, right back to the people in the middle, you can be on either side. For most of my life, I am you people. You are who I belong to. I am all about talking and getting to know who you are, except for Monday mornings. Monday mornings are the only day that I allow myself in the office. So on Mondays, you are my people. I am all about getting the work done. I have a meeting every Monday morning with my assistants. My assistants belong over here. Both of them, one has a 5-year-old daughter, another one has 2 golden retrievers that are like her kids. And every Monday morning we have a meeting that should last 12 minutes. It lasts 27 minutes. It lasts 27 minutes because I've got to ask about the 5-year-old and I've got to ask about the golden retrievers. I don't care. I hadn't cared in 5 years. But why do I do it? Exactly, because I need to connect with them. Because we need to communicate on a level that people feel comfortable and what makes them feel good, what makes them feel connected to our organization, what makes them feel like they're listened to and they are heard. Here's the beauty of it. You don't even have to get it right. The moment that I start focusing my energy on trying to figure out your pace and priority, you feel my energy focused on you. You feel that I am more focused on helping you than I am focused on helping myself. You talk about creating a different type of culture. Give yourself a round of applause and take a seat. I might have just saved your relationship as well. So connection is really, really important in creating a culture where employees feel listened to, they feel heard, and they feel understood. Because when people feel connected to you, when they feel like they matter and they heard, they're ready to give you all their ideas. They're ready to have all these ideas and take it as their personal ownership to grow your credit union. I mean, imagine having a team full of people as passionate as you are, giving you every idea you can think of to grow your credit union. And if you want to succeed in today's marketplace, you're going to need the idea of everybody on the team. But again, you have to be creating that culture that allows people to share their ideas. Because employees want ownership. They want skin in the game. My husband is a dentist, and he's been in practice for a long time. And about 5 years ago, he came home because he had had one of those days. Ever had one of those days? He came through the door and he said, I don't think I can do this anymore. He said, I think I'm just going to retire. I think that I am done. I'll figure out something else. I have always loved landscaping, but I am finished. I'm the only person in that practice who cares. I'm the only one cares if we hit our goals. I'm the only one cares if we get the inventory done. I'm the only one cares. I am finished. Now, I'm a supportive wife, so I thought he just needs a great dinner, a glass of wine, and a good night's sleep. He will get up tomorrow and all will be okay. He gets up the next morning, he comes downstairs for breakfast and he said, pretty sure that I'm still going to pull the trigger and not do this thing anymore, but I've made a decision. He said, I'm going to hire a business coach. I'm a business coach. I am a really good business coach. But my husband is a smart enough man to know he should not hire his wife to be his business coach. So Rob hires this woman by the name of Sylvie. Now Sylvie is smart. My husband likes smart women. Sylvie's good looking. My husband likes smart, good looking women. And Sylvie is from Alabama. And she had this way of talking where honey just dripped off her tongue. And my honey got so stuck in her honey, he would do anything that Sylvie told him to do, which was a very good thing. Because Sylvie figured out Rob's problem was not dentistry. His problem was his leadership style. See, Rob is what is known as a hero leader. He takes all the responsibility. He makes all the decision. He fixes all the problems. He also gets all the blame when the practice doesn't do well. And Sylvie moved him from a hero leader to a transformational leader. And as a transformational leader, he's still got control of his practice. He still got to decide what the goals were, what products they were going to sell, whatever it is they were going to do. It was his decision. But the question of how now belonged to his team. Because when you ask people how, you'll simultaneously give them voice and responsibility. See, people support what they help create. No matter how amazing your ideas are, because they're your ideas, I don't care if they work. But if they're my ideas, now I'm going to take ownership. I'm a master certified strategic planner. I believe in the strategic plan. But if you are building strategic plans that are driven top down, they'll never work. They have to be driven from the bottom up. The people who have to do the work have to have a say in what's going on. Now, I think this is so important that I think we should try this one on for size 2. So I need a leader at every table. Typically, we pick out the person who looks the most stressed out because that would obviously be the leader, right? So once you have the leader at your table, pick somebody. Hands up, I need the leaders. Everybody, all right, got a leader here? All right, you're going to be very happy that you have chosen the leadership position. All right, leaders, this is going to be the easiest thing you have ever done, all right? Leaders, you get to state a challenge, an opportunity, a problem, whatever it is. Maybe you want to grow your credit union by 20% next year. Maybe you're thinking about getting into commercial. Maybe you are struggling to find employees. Maybe you need to build a succession plan. I don't care what it is. Whatever your problem is, I want you to state it to the table and then be quiet. And because everybody else at the table is going to solve your problem for you. They're going to give you their ideas, their strategies, their opinions. Go. How did it feel to get to state your problem and just let it go? Not, it feel, what? It was scary? Yeah. Terrible. Why? Because you wanted to talk the whole time? Yes, I had a real problem with leaders wanting to talk the whole time. How did it feel to get asked your opinion?
It felt good.
It felt good, right? Exactly. Your employees want skin in the game. They want you to put the idea out there and then let them give you their ideas to help solve the problem. Now here is, I'm going to answer the question that I can see on all your faces. I know every single person in here is thinking the same thing. And the answer is yes. Yes. Sometimes your employees are going to have very stupid ideas. But that's okay. It's perfectly okay because you get credit just for asking. And the moment that you ask how, you create voice and responsibility. Remember, people support what they help create. Years ago, I worked for, to this day, to remain simultaneously the best and most frustrating boss I have ever had. His name was Jeff. And Jeff was frustrating because whenever you went into Jeff's office, no matter what your issue, challenge, or problem was, his response was always, I don't know, what do you think we ought to do? And one afternoon, I had a problem that I felt was way above my pay grade. I did not think I could solve this problem by myself. So I went into Jeff's office. When I walked into his office, I peeked around the corner, and Jeff was in there with his 5-year-old daughter, Caroline. Now, Caroline was a lot like most 5-year-olds. She was blonde hair, blue-eyed, and she hadn't quite gotten over the lisp. You know how 5-year-olds will talk like that? And so as soon as I saw him in there with Caroline, I pulled back out, and I was not going to bother him, but it was too late. Jeff had seen me, and he waved me into his office. And I said, well, I don't really want to bother you. He said, it's fine. Tell me what's on your mind. So I asked him my question, to which he said, yeah, I don't know. What do you think we ought to do? And before I could open my mouth, before I could utter a word, Caroline, who was standing right between us, put her hands on her hip. She looked at me. She looked at her father in complete disgust. And she said, Oh, Daddy, do you do that here too? Because apparently Jeff was raising leaders at home as well as in the office. See, here's the thing. 1 year later, Jeff got promoted, and what we realized was we didn't need him anymore because we already knew how to run the area. I get asked all the time, about how do we raise those next level leaders. You can build succession plans, you can do all the fancy stuff in the world, but if you are still making the decisions, if you are still solving the problems, they are never going to take over, ever. We are wired as individuals that if you will take the responsibility, I would much rather you take it, and I'm going to go in his office and complain about you, all right? The biggest challenge is that we say that people don't know how to think. Well, if you're doing all the thinking for me, I will opt not to think. If you want to raise the next level of talent, and you need to be raising the next level of talent now, then you need to learn to lead through the power of the question. You need to stop making all the decisions. You need to stop taking all the responsibility, and you need to give them skin in the game. Because the crazy thing is, the less you work, the harder I work, the more engaged I am. I want to give you everything I've got, but you've got to create the culture to allow that. Not only were we ready to lead the area after Jeff left, but the last year he worked with us, I think he was on the golf course 4 out of 5 days a week. And we loved him because we wanted to run that area. We wanted to make it successful. So we have 2 of the 3, and we are almost at time. We know that we have got to begin with purpose. You have got to give your employees something to believe in. And the second is you have to connect with them, and you have got to give them skin in the game. What could possibly be left? Has anybody in here ever, I don't want to ask it that way. Has anybody in here ever bought something, you paid for it, you thought the price was perfectly reasonable, but if your spouse, significant other, or friend knew what you paid for it, they would think you were crazy? Done that? Yeah, my husband's biggest fear in life is that I will sell his boat for what he told me he paid for it. But that is fine because he thinks I get my hair cut for $50. Right? What is that? That is, it's very, very, very important in today's marketplace. That is value. And you really need to understand it and how to proactively add it in today's marketplace. I've got to tell you, there is gold in your current member base, gold. But the top 2 reasons members don't do more business with you, top 2, is they don't know what else you have to offer because you never asked. Think about that. I didn't say that your members aren't doing more with you because they don't like your products, because they want to deal with your competitor, because they think your price is too high. I said they're not doing more with you because they don't know what else you have to offer and because you never asked. Most cross-sell ratios that I deal with when I'm working with financial institutions hover somewhere around 2 to 3 products. Members have potential of 8 to 10. Those people are already bought into you. They're ready to do more with you. The worst thing that can happen to you in today's marketplace is not that you don't get a sale. It's that your members find out about a product or service they need from somebody else other than you. Because when that happens, you just lost trust. And if you want to proactively add value to your members, and I know that you do, your job as a leader is to be proactively adding value to your employees. Because the top 2 reasons that your employees don't do more for you is because they don't know what else you have to offer and because you never asked. In a perfect world, employees would be raising their hand. They would be telling you what else they want to learn, and they would be telling you what their career dreams and aspirations are. The world is not perfect. And if you have really good people amongst your ranks, even if you have mediocre. You should be asking them what their dreams are and what else they want to learn. 65% of millennials and Generation X employees have said, if I had a career path, I would contemplate staying with the organization if I knew there was a next step. And let me tell you that a next step does not need to be CEO. It does not need to be executive level leadership. Sometimes it just means I learned something new. I'm growing, I'm expanding. They care enough about that. In 2008, anybody remember 2008? Maybe we should have a moment of silence, right? But in 2008, I got asked to do a motivational talk on how do you motivate employees in a downturning economy. I thought, that's a really good question. I wonder how you do that. And you look it up, and here's the things that we're doing. We're doing pizza parties. For that branch that sells the most, we're doing the party on Friday afternoon. We're giving them the best parking spot, or the king daddy of the plaque on the wall, right? All great ideas. None of that is wrong. But that is icing on the cake. There's got to be something underneath it. And when I started doing the research of what do employees want in a downturning economy, it turns out they want the same thing no matter what the economy's doing. Number one, they want support. They want to know there is a next step for them. They want to know that they are working for somebody who cares enough to be teaching them and training them to do something else, to learn. And number two, they want accountability. They want to know when they're doing a job well, but most importantly, the dead weight on your team, they want you to handle it. Because if there is somebody working next to me that is not doing their job, and if you won't handle it, then I don't think you care enough about the credit union. So I'm going to go someplace else where I can feel safe. If I'm going to do everything I can to move the credit union forward, I need you as the leader to do everything. The beautiful thing about support and accountability, they don't cost you $1. They don't cost you $1. But people want to work in places where they know the rules, they understand the boundaries, and everybody is held accountable to those. And they want to work in a place that is growing, that is expanding, and they can expand their knowledge as well. If you put those three strategies into place, if you begin by leading with purpose, by helping people understand what it is to believe in, if you give them skin in the game, and you provide an environment that adds value to them, they're going to turn around and they are going to add value to your members. Look, I'm not going to kid you. I think there is a war on talent. And I think the war is going to get way harder to win. I have a theory about that. It is not based in any scientific research, is not backed up by anything, but I'm right. Okay? And this is my theory. My theory is that when 2008 hit, baby boomers who were getting ready to retire, many hung on. They decided to stay. One, because they cared about their organizations, but two, many couldn't retire at that point. Now here we are 10 years later, and they're getting tired. They want to leave the workforce. But the problem is you have Generation X coming behind them, the smallest of the generations, those people who are 35 to 54. Generation X was hit hardest by the downturn, and many men in that generation never came back into the workforce. So you have a smaller pool to choose from. The oldest of the millennials are 35. 35. Many of them lack the experience to take over your organizations, to lead, but it doesn't mean they don't want to. But you have to start training them now. You have to find the talent now, and you have to provide the opportunity. Look, I run a business. I know these are challenging times, but I also know this is one of the best times to be in business. And if you understand the rules, if you embrace the changes, if you really understand that your job as a leader, the most important thing that you can do is to make it your mission to attract the best and the brightest, I promise you, you are going to put yourself in a position to succeed no matter what this economy does. Thank you. If we are not connected, I would love to connect. Frank, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I want to take any questions. Anybody got any questions before we transition now?
Yes. Can I put you on the mic?
In this era of men versus women, I noticed when you divided us, there were more women on the other side than this side. What effect is there in this, leadership stuff, men versus women?
Yeah, okay, this isn't politically correct, but I really believe men and women are different. And he said that when I divided the room, he noticed that there were more women on the relationship side, right? Well, I do think that more women are more, this is not a stereotype, but I do think that women are more relationship oriented. I also think that we're socialized to be more relationship oriented, which plays some into it. But I do think that I love the idea of men and women working together in leadership. When I worked with men in the financial services industry, it really taught me to be more aggressive, to ask for what I want, and to not be afraid to take a risk. And I found that men learned from working with me to be more inclusive, like I was all about the team succeeding, and my passion was developing people. And I do think that some of that does play into it, because I do think that there are more tendencies that are male-oriented and more tendencies that are female-oriented. Whether we're born like that or socialized like that, I'm not really sure. But I do know that that with the next generation coming up, it's going to be interesting, because unlike my generation, a lot of younger women are not going to opt out of the workforce. They're not going to necessarily take time off to raise children and things. So, things just might be different. Other questions? Yes.
Congratulations on the office building. But
Thank you. Thanks.
when you selected which loan office to go with, you talked about relationship building. How does that clash with I'm going to go home and order online versus order in the store?
Yeah, go home and order online versus in. Anybody in here ever lose a deal on price? Oh, come on, we've all lost a deal on price, right? Anybody in here in the last 2 years, honest answer, you have bought a coffee at Starbucks? Oh, so price is not the issue, right? It is, part of it is a relationship building, but can you sell risk and value? What Yvette did in that chair in that day is she taught me why doing business with her was worth the price of what she was going to charge me. I didn't want my evaluation or appraisal done by somebody in Texas. I wanted that decision made locally. Then she told me I'd be crazy not to get an appraisal. I was about to spend $750,000 on a building, and didn't I need to know that my building was worth $750,000? And and it was those types of things. You have to pick the right person who is in your target, who cares about those things. But you have got to teach your employees to sell what the credit union offers. See, to all of you financial institutions, it all looks vanilla. It all looks the same. So especially when people are going for a loan, it's 6-1 pick 'em. I'm just looking for the rate. But now all of a sudden, if you start to put other stuff on it, if I know that you're going to be making the decision, I know that if something happens with my business, you're going to be the person I'm talking to, not somebody in Seattle, Washington. All of a sudden, that little bit of a bump takes on a whole different meaning. I believe in this economy, we are less price sensitive than we have ever been. I don't think people trust the cheapest, but if your employees can't sell risk and value, if they can't sell what the credit union's offering, then you're selling price all day long. That answer the question? Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate about that. Any other questions?